Notre Dame fans, welcome back to another edition of the Irish Breakdown Podcast. It is Thursday. And so my man over there, Vince D'Addario, football analyst at irishbreakdown.com. I'm Brian Driscoll, the publisher. And it's prediction time, Vince. But for us, we can't just come on here and just, all right, here's our score. Peace out, everybody. We got to lead up to it because we still have some final breakdowns and analysis that we have to do about this game. And that is what today is going to be all about. Is really putting the final touches on this matchup and then giving our prediction. And our predictions are somewhat close. We were somewhat close. I thought about making you change yours because it was too close to mine, but then I'd be rude. So I decided not to do that. But, but Vince, normally every week we start the show off with a what's at stake in this game. And I want to go a different angle because I think what's at stake is easy, right? Notre Dame's still playing for New Year's Six Bowl. Potentially, absolutely, if there's as much chaos in the final 5 weeks as there was in the first 7 or 8, potentially a run at a playoff spot. I think right now, more realistically, is yes, you're at least battling for that New Year's Six, and you have to keep winning to get there. Then, if you keep winning and winning the way that you need to win, and some craziness happens, because right now Notre Dame is not control their own destiny when it comes to the playoff.
No way.
They need a lot of other stuff to happen. They are in control of their own destiny when it comes to the New Year's Six Bowl, in my opinion. Okay, and so that's really where the focus is, and that's kind of easy. It is what it is. They have to win out to be there. Right. For me, what's more important from a bigger picture is I think in this game we're going to learn a lot about Notre Dame, and that's really what we want to dive into today. But before we do, my man JP Buellsfeld has decided he does not want to be released from his offer to always support us. And JP, we appreciate it so incredibly much. JP with the Super Chat, he says, I challenge everyone that is enjoying the show today as much as I am to Super Chat $5 to support Irish Breakdown. Thank you, JP. Thank you very much. Man. Awesome. So Vince, let's dive into this breakdown. And let's first, before we kind of get into the specifics of this game, I want to take a little big picture. And I feel like we're going to learn a lot about this team. And we're going to come out of this game. So, like, when the USC game ended, it was like, okay, well, there's some good stuff in there, but let's see if it's going to continue.
Yeah.
And I think this is the game where we learn that. And if those things continue, then you feel like, okay, they're going in the right direction. And if these things don't continue, then it's going to be like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a interesting final 5 games of the season.
Yeah, no
Let's start offensively, Vince.
Okay.
I think the first big thing we're going to find out in this game is are the changes that they made last week. Were those USC-related changes, or is this a permanent thing where Notre Dame is finally saying this is who this 2021 football team is, and we're going to roll with it? Right. I think that's we're going to learn that from the first series,
yes,
and we're going to see it through the whole game.
And to be honest with you, I think I'm going to wait until maybe the second or third series to make sure that I've learned it, because I think I have been, I don't know if fooled is the right word, but I've been very impressed with a lot of first series for Notre Dame. And then it seems like when they get to the second and third series, things kind of drop off a little bit. I'll tell you what, you and I will have a conversation at halftime, and then I'll decide whether I think that they've continued on. That's great.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Vince.
That's great.
This is a great chat from Garrett Knutson. He says, I'm a little short, JP. How about you spot me?
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, Vince.
That's okay.
Awesome.
I
agree with you, though.
I feel good. I feel good about where this offense is going. I feel good about, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I feel good about what Kelly said after the game about the fact that, this is kind of who we are, and this is what we want to build on, and this is what we want to do. That leads me to believe that that's what they're going to do, but I still need to see it. And I want to see it for a whole half, and I want to see it consistently. And if I do, then I will be excited, and I will think that this is the right step for Notre Dame, and that they're actually taking that step, and that the next 4 games after Saturday are going to be really fun games to watch, because if they continue to build on what we think they started on Saturday, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's interesting you bring up what they've done in past games too, because if you look at, for example, Florida State, they came out fast, pushing the tempo, spreading the field, really almost the whole game. I mean, they did in the third quarter as well. Did it early against Toledo, had some success. And as I said before, I think that sack fumble on drive 2 changed Notre Dame. And then they come out against Wisconsin in that second series, and they kind of push it a little bit and have some success throwing the ball, and then they kind of went away from it. So as you said, Vince, we've seen it at times where they've shown glimpses of it, but it's never been a full,
right.
We're going down here thing. So I think that's a good conversation to have. I think what I'm saying is we're going to see it on the first series, and we're going to see it throughout. It can't just be a series or two thing. And that's going to lead into the second thing we're going to learn is the offense ascending. So really starting, I would even argue we kind of saw a little bit of it in the second quarter against Virginia Tech. I think that when they inserted Tyler Buckner into the game, the offense kind of got a little hot. You scored a couple times quick. That sparked Notre Dame. If you don't get those two early scores from Tyler Buckner, Jack Cohn doesn't have a chance to bring you back in the fourth quarter, right? But then we really saw it when Jack came in, and that carried into the USC game. And I thought they moved the ball well against USC. It wasn't great, but it was progress. But it's gotta be the beginning of the next part, not necessarily, So
yeah.
Are they ascending? Can they clean up some of the things that took points off the board last week? Can Kevin Austin make some of those plays downfield? When Jack Cohn gets Lorenzo Styles with a step on a corner, can he lead him instead of trying to back shoulder it and giving that DB a chance to make a play? Those type of things. Can the offensive line execute at the level it did? And that's kind of the third thing that I'll get to, and it's these two things go together. Is the offensive line genuinely improving? And that's something that is going to be a part too. So those two things together about the offense as a whole ascending and the offensive line ascending, we're going to find that out in this game because this is not a good North Carolina defense. But Notre Dame's had some struggles against some other teams that weren't necessarily great defense as well. I think those are the next two things that I think we're going to learn about this team on Saturday.
Yeah, because I was pleasantly happy with the play of the offensive line on Saturday night. I mean, again, there's things that you look, you're always going to be able to rip apart an offensive line to a degree. And there's always going to be things,
especially at Notre Dame, because you always have like the 2020 and the 2017 and the 2015 lines to hold it up to. That shouldn't have been the expectation for this team.
Absolutely. And Saturday night was not my expectation for this team. Saturday night was kind of my expectation for this team in game one.
Mm-hmm.
But now we've kind of gotten there by the time we get to mid-season. And so they're still behind the 8 ball for me, but they are improving. And if they can continue that improvement, then that's fantastic. And that's what we want. And again, are they ascending? If they continue to get better, I think the left side's going to continue to get better. I feel like those two guys, Kristofic and Alt, I think those two are going to continue to get better. Regardless of the coaching or whatever you want to say, I think those two are going to continue to get better. I think Josh Lugg has gotten better. He had some really bad games around their 3 and 4 area, and he's gotten better since then. And you kind of alerted me to that, and I appreciate it. Obviously, I'm still going to bang the left guard, and we'll talk about that. Right? Excuse me. I apologize. Right guard.
Dang, what Kristofic do to you, man?
No, I love that kid.
Pretty well on Saturday.
No, I love that kid. But we'll get to that later. But again, is the group ascending? And I think that they are. But again, this game is going to tell us if that's the case. If they're continuously letting pressures in from this North Carolina front, then they got to go back.
Yeah, or if they can't get movement at all. Yeah. But again, with this line, as we've said all year, look, here's the thing we're not going to do. We're not going to just find reasons to be critical just to be critical, right? Because the expectation for this line should not be what it was for last year's line or the 2017 line or the 2015 line.
Right.
As we've said all year, we just need to see this line just be solid, because with the weapons around it, just a solid line, especially against the defenses that Notre Dame is going to face here in the second half of the season. It just has to be solid. So we're going to find all that out here on Saturday. That's going to be another thing we're going to see early, and then we got to see it continue throughout the game. But that's something I'm encouraged to see about it, because again, if Notre Dame's going to beat Virginia and beat Georgia Tech and beat Stanford, they're not going to win 17-14 games, right? They can't ask the defense to carry them week after week after week.
Right.
They need to kind of bring it, especially because it's not just about winning right now. To me, this game begins a stretch where it's not just about, winning games. It's about what I've always preached, which is the process of playing to a standard.
Right.
And just beating a 1-6 Navy or a 3-4 Stanford team or a 3-4 Georgia Tech team or a 4-3 North Carolina team or even a 6-2 Virginia team that has a 20-point loss to North Carolina and a 20-point loss to Wake Forest isn't the standard. It's, are you playing to a level where you're playing to your potential? And that is what we need to see.
No question. I completely agree with that. And we got a couple super chats that I want to throw up here before we kind of move to the next step. Mike answers the call to JP. He goes, "Got you covered." Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate that. That's awesome. And then JP jumping right back in and says,
Vince, this is why I love our community. This is why I love our community.
Yeah. Is it Knutson or Knutson? Do we know?
I just went Knutson. That's what I went
I'll
with.
follow your lead then. He goes, "Mr. Knutson, I got your back. Go Irish, beat North Carolina." Love it. Absolutely love it. So appreciate you guys very much. Very, very much.
Yeah.
But no,
we do have a great crowd. We really
have an
do.
Awesome crowd, man. This is by far my highlight of my day. Before I get to go hang with the family. So I appreciate it very much, you guys.
And so let's get back on track. Same thing with the defense, Vince. The three things that we're going to learn. It's not so much just about beating a 4-3 North Carolina team who stinks on the road. It's about playing to your potential. It's about being the team you're supposed to be. Defensively, I think this is a great opportunity for us to learn a lot about Marcus Freeman. What kind of adjustments is he going to make?
Yes.
What kind of preparations is he going to make? Can he look at, okay, we don't have Kyle Hamilton. Here's where our strengths are. Let's play to those. Will he play sort of a conservative bend but don't break alignment to not give up points, or will he be more aggressive and take the attack? And within each of those options, because I don't think either one of those options are bad. It's about, can you execute at a high level within those two options? I mean, Clark Lee was very much a bend but don't break defensive coach, and it worked very well. Mike Elko was much more of an aggressive sort of take the attack to the other team, and it worked. Marcus Freeman's kind of done a little bit of both this year. Yeah, but you got to make it work. And so can he put that game plan together to make it work?
Yeah, and I think we're going to learn a little bit about Marcus Freeman, and not saying bad or good. I'm just saying we're going to learn a little bit more about him. How do you adjust to not having the best player on your defense out there? You know what I mean? And I think we're also going to learn a lot about the players. Who's going to step up when? I mean, this is your back's against the wall a little bit when your best player goes down.
Well, and that's kind of the next two things on the what we're going to learn chart is the safeties.
Yeah.
I mean, what's DJ Brown and Houston Griffith going to do? Right. I'm nervous, and this is part of my concern with Marcus Freeman. I'm very nervous about the idea of putting Isaiah Pryor back there. How are they going to use him? Are they going to use him appropriately to his skill strength? Or are they going to kind of go with hey, we're playing the veterans? Because one thing we've seen from this defense this year, they haven't played young guys other than young guys that have already played, or guys that they have no choice but to play a young guy. And so you say, okay, at corner, they're playing Ramon Henderson and Clarence Lewis. They're sophomores, but that's because the only other options they have are freshmen.
And Clarence Lewis started half the season last year.
But my point is, he is the second, he's one of the oldest guys that they have relative to the rest of the roster. And so they haven't been overly fond of playing young players. True. Let's be honest. They haven't played Prince Collie. They haven't played Gabriel Rubio. That surprises me that he hasn't played a down yet this year.
Yeah.
The only young guys they've really played are, we haven't seen Xavier Watts for however, for as good as. So those kind of things concern me a little bit. And this say we're going to put a guy like Isaiah Pryor at safety and hope that he can be something that he never has been in his entire career. That concerns me as opposed to getting a young guy ready. So, but, look, will it work or will it not work? That's what we're going to learn.
Yes.
And of course, DJ and Houston have to play well. And then the same thing that kind of carries on to your point, Vince, is we're going to learn a lot about this defensive line. But it all goes back to point number one is, how is the defensive line used? And so we can talk about all day about how talented the defensive line is, but if Isaiah Foskey's dropping in coverage more than he's rushing the quarterback, you're taking away your best weapon. And so we'll dive more into that as we'll get into specific matchups. But those are the things we're going to learn a lot about this Notre Dame defensive line, and we're going to learn a lot about the talent at safety, because, again, it's not just about this season, because Kyle Hamilton's not coming back next year. I don't think he is.
Right, and there's people in the chat wondering if he's going to come back this year.
I think he will. I mean, I hear people say that a lot. I don't have any reason to believe that Kyle Hamilton won't come back, especially if this team has something to play for.
Yeah.
I personally would not bring him back against Navy. I've already made that case. We'll dive into that
We
more
talked
next
about
week.
that.
But I'll be shocked if Kyle Hamilton doesn't play again. That's 100% fan speculation. And with all due respect, there's nothing that I've heard or anybody else that I know has heard about that. But I guess we'll find out. But
Sure.
so Vince, that's